Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Majesty Lord Blaster deck profile for January 2023. Wanted to update the deck. We had a new promo, Emmeline, come out with the latest Set 7 release. They were store boosters, I believe, so we get this promo with the purchase of every couple booster packs you got at a local Cardfight Vanguard card shop. I know some stores are still delayed in getting this promo, but I wanted to update the deck with what you could use for the Emmeline promo, just because with it we'll be having the new support in Set 8. So hopefully along with the Dragonic Overlord deck that also got support with the new promo it has, I wanted to just update these decks before we kick off the new Minerva Rising booster set and all 10 of the new decks that'll be supported in that set as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, our ride deck is still the same, with Wingull Brave being the starter. When rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Little Sage Marin. When rode upon by a grade 2 with Blaster and its card name, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose up to one grade 2 with Blaster and its card name from among them. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. If you did not reveal a card, choose a Wingull Brave from your soul, and you may call it to rearguard. So this just gives you a potential Forerunner rearguard, or the search for one of the cards needed for your Majesty Lord Blaster. Our grade 2 is Blaster Blade. When it is placed on Vanguard, counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. If you did not retire, draw a card. So you can either swap back and forth between Blaster Blade or Blaster Dark for the ride deck. It's all player preference. You will have the potential rearguard to retire with Wingull Brave if you don't search off Little Sage Marin to retire with Blaster Dark. Otherwise, you'd have to call a rearguard with it. So I would say Blaster Blade is probably one of the better options, but both are available because then you just have the search to use with Majesty Lord Blaster being your main go-to grade 3 in the deck for that setup. Along with the copy we are running in the ride deck, we are also running 3 additional copies of this card. When your soul has Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark, this unit gets plus 2,000 power and critical plus 1. This is a continuous Vanguard ability, so you'll be at 15k power even during your opponent's turn. And when this unit attacks Vanguard, perform all of the following. Put a Blaster Blade from your rearguard into your soul. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it, and put a Blaster Dark from your rearguard into your soul. And this unit gets drive plus 1 to end of turn. So go have a triple drive, critical plus 1, plus 2 power, and then also being able to potentially retire an opponent's grade 2 interceptor, with this card being a heavy hit pressure card, and then just continuously having the plus 2 and critical the following turn, even if you don't use Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark the following turn as well. For the grade 2s, we're running 3 copies additionally of Blaster Blade. When it's placed on the rearguard, counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rearguards and retire it. So unlike Blaster Dark, you don't have to retire one of your own rearguards for this card as well, but still you'll get the plus 5 when you do so with Blaster Dark. Still though, you want as many of these cards to run in the deck so you can have the potential to use Majesty Lord Blaster's drive plus 1 and retire each and every turn. So along with the Blaster Blade, we're running 4 copies of Blaster Dark. When it's placed on Vanguard or rear, counterblast 1, retire one of your other rearguards. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. If this unit gets drive plus 1 until end of turn. So with this card, you have it on your Vanguard. It could potentially do a twin drive, but once again, you have to go off of the Wingull Brave being called to rear, so you have one of your own rearguards to retire, and during your turn, if your rearguard was retired this turn, it gets plus 5,000 power. So you could have Blaster Dark be at 15k power by itself on the rearguard if you did retire one of your own rearguards, but most of the time Blaster Dark will just be here to provide the additional power that Majesty Lord Blaster can get when you put Blaster Dark into your soul and giving your Vanguard drive plus 1. For the new unit we are running, now I'm not running the Bravery to stand against Will to Pierce Through anymore, because I find the new promo card, which is Knight of Inheritance, Emmeline, to be much better when it's placed on rear from hand. So Blast 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to one card with Blaster and its card name from among them, call it to rear or reveal it and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. If you put a card into your hand, choose a card from your hand and discard it. So really, you don't even have to add the Blaster card to your hand, just call it to rear because you're going to use it anyway. And also when your unit with Blaster and its card name attacks, this unit gets plus 5,000 to end of turn. So if your Majesty Lord Blaster and then one of your other Blaster rear guards attacks, you can have your Emmeline get a total of plus 10,000 power. If a Persona ride, that'd be 30,000 power in total for this unit to be a final unit to attack with against your opponent for more of a search power. And also for the fact that Emmeline just needs a Soul Blast means that you'll have plenty of soul with this deck with the multiple Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark that you put into it. So you can just Soul Blast one of the ones to at least keep your Majesty Lord Blaster with its continuous +2 and critical +1 on the Vanguard, and then just use Emmeline for that consistent search to get those copies to your hand. And for some of the other grade 2s, to finish them off, we are running 4 copies of Knight of Loyalty Bedivere. When placed on rear from hand, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, search your deck for up to 1 Knight of Friendship K, call it to rear guard in the same column as this unit, and shuffle your deck. So you get to search out your go-to grade 1 with this card, being able to set up that column, because then you have the additional plus power with K as well, being able to set up that entire column. It could potentially be strong, but you still have the 30k power of Emmeline, which could be a lot stronger depending on where you call this card for its setup. But Bedivere just gives you that rearguard grade 1 as well to have more of a field presence. So that's why I definitely do like running 4 of this copy of this card as well. And for the grade 1s, I am running 4 copies of Knight of Friendship K. During the battle this unit boosted Knight of Loyalty Bedivere, it gets plus 5,000 power. So with K and Bedivere, you have a 23k column in total, 33 if you Persona Road that turn. So even more pressure altogether with this column if you Persona Road, with that power being able to reach even better numbers than Bedivere. But Bedivere is just a card that stands alone if your other Blaster units attack. I would say one of the worst columns would be if you have Bedivere and Emmeline, because then you don't have the max potential. You always want to at least be attacking with 1 Blaster rearguard if you have Emmeline. Otherwise, intercept and then prepare it for the Bedivere and K column. And I also run 4 copies of Armor Piercing Knight Mugain. When placed on rear from hand, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its card name, discard a card from your hand, look at 2 cards on the top of your deck, choose up 2 unit cards among them, call them to rear's rest, and discard the rest. So more cards to set up. Since we're not running Bravery to Stand Against, Will to Pierce Through anymore, this card just became way more consistent, being able to use all of our rear guards, including our new grade 2 one, to be able to call to rear guard. And then also for the fact that it has to be placed from hand, it makes up for at least for the fact that you would call or at least miss out if you revealed an order instead. That's why we're not running any orders anymore with this build. The last of the grade 1s being 4 copies of Aegismere Dragon. You could run Elementaria Sanctitude if you want, but it's just more inconsistent with cards like Mugain having the fact that you'll reveal a Blitz order and it'll just get discarded. At least with Aegismere, if you do reveal it off of Mugain, you can at least still call it since it is a unit. And then for the trigger lineup, going with the 7 critical. If you have the ability critical, you could put it in the spot for one of these cards. More than likely the White Fang Witch Disma, just so you run 4 of the ability critical. But you really don't use the soul as much. With all you can do with Majesty Lord Blaster, you'll have plenty of soul to use for cards like Emmeline. And then we're also running 4 of the Protection Magic draw trigger for the additional +5 shield. And then for our heal lineup, 2 of the Circling Sorceress, and 1 copy of Invigorate Sage, and 1 Hardiness Tear Dragon for both of the options. I heard we are getting a new heal trigger when we do get it. If I haven't updated this deck until then, you could just remove one of the other heals and run 1 of each for a shield option for each one. I believe it works if your opponent has a grade that is higher than you for that card, with the last card being the Overtrigger, a Martinoa, for the additional drive you can provide on rearguard. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Just happy to be able to update the deck. Hopefully, most places will get their Emmeline promos, and the same for the Dragonic Overlord promos. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.